Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I think we are live. You can see my face on the other screen, so maybe that might actually be the case. So we're going to give it just 1 minute. But if you are out there and you have the ability, please drop hashtag coffee break into the comment section. Let everybody know that you're here and that you're also loving what we're doing here at the Construction CPA Coffee Cafe. Of course, with everything else, all these comments and hashtags and all that funness helps with the feed. So helps it to rank on Facebook, all that fancy stuff. So all right, let's just 1 more second. So we're going to be hashtag coffee break, and all right, away we go. Good morning, everyone. I am Lisa Raish, CPA. I am also the welcome to the Construction CPA's Coffee Cafe. It is a Friday morning, so we're having Friday morning blunders. So today's topic is going to be QuickBooks Online versus QuickBooks Desktop. So there are a number of reasons to use each one of them. We're going to kind of go through what some of the pluses and minuses are in each one. The reason that we're talking about this today is this is actually something that comes up for us pretty regularly. We work with a lot of contractors, and typically or historically, QuickBooks Desktop has been better for contractors. So when we start working with clients, they may already be on desktop, or they might be looking to move from online to desktop or desktop to online. And so this tends to be a topic that comes up a lot. So we'll kind of get into the meat and potatoes. So first and foremost, QuickBooks Online. So we'll call QBO, and then we'll call the other one desktop, just to make it a little bit easier. QBO is going to be a monthly subscription, and depending on which level of subscription that you purchase, again, the pricing starts somewhere around $30 and runs upwards of, I believe, $100, depending on which one that you want. So a new company starting out may only need the basic QuickBooks Online, basic QBO. But again, as you start to get more complex, you have a lot more going on in your business, you may need more of the more advanced QBO. So it might start to get a little bit expensive every month, maybe $100 or so, $125 a month for your service. Whereas with desktop, you're purchasing the item, so you're purchasing the license, but there's also an annual subscription that goes in with that as well. So again, there's costs associated with each. How it spreads out, is it a monthly cost, or is it kind of that one-time annual cost, and you don't have a cost the rest of the year? So kind of something to think about, especially when you're thinking about cash flow. QBO, again, QuickBooks Online, it is entirely cloud-based. So everything you use is going to be in the cloud. It's an app. There's also, you can have an app on your phone. So you're not saving anything on any machinery. Whereas with desktop, you're going to save that on the desktop computer that you have, or maybe some of you have a server in your offices. So you're physically saving that product onto another computer somewhere. And so you're responsible for making the backups, saving those backups, making sure that you have a backup to go to if you were to run into an issue. Whereas online, QBO is completely cloud-based. So you click in there right now, you can work in the product. It's live. It's saving as you're going along. You don't have to actually click save like you would in desktop to actually save the data that you're working. So kind of, again, do you like the idea of being in the cloud where everything is there? It's kind of real time, always there, or would you like it on a local computer or on a server that you have where you're the one who's in charge of maintaining those backups? For working with an accountant like us, we like QBO because QBO is very easy for clients to share with us. They basically invite us to their QBO file, and we have the ability to go in there at any time that we need to so that to look at whether we're doing their accounting or whether we are doing, any year-end work for them. We can kind of go into the file real time, see where it's at this moment in time, without requesting a backup. You can still share QuickBooks Desktop, but depending on the type of desktop that you have, makes it a little bit more challenging to share with your accountant. You typically would share an accountant's file. You share the file kind of back and forth. We would potentially make any changes to it. So again, I wouldn't be able to see real time what you have in there right at this moment. It would be what was the last saved item that you shared, you saved on that file before you saved it and gave it to us. So again, not as real time for working with your accountant, but again, you can still share the file. It's not that you can't, it just makes it a little bit more, you have to think about it a little bit more and how you're going to share it with desktop versus online. QBO is great for pretty much any business. There are some aspects of QBO that aren't great. So the inventory is not wonderful. So if you have the type of business where, say, you're an e-commerce business, you would be running QBO with something else in order to manage your inventory. And that's kind of where we've also come into the issue with construction. We're doing job costing for clients. So job costing in QBO typically is not wonderful. It's a little bit clunky, hard to get around in, whereas in desktop, doing job costing is much more robust. There's more reporting options, more, budgeting, budget to actual, things like that you can actually track in the file versus with QBO. QBO, if you want to be doing any kind of real job costing, the reality is you're probably going to need a product that you run side by side with QuickBooks, which would be some type of job costing product, or it's a job cost and a CRM kind of all wrapped up in one. So again, now you've got an additional investment as well, where you've got another product that you're using along with QuickBooks with QBO. So kind of something to think about. But, as we get a little bit farther down in some of the examples and some of the kind of the pluses and the minuses, we'll go back to the other softwares that you can potentially use. QBO tends to be relatively easy to use. Like anything else, you want to have some accounting knowledge when you get into QBO. While it's easier to get around in and easier for someone who's not necessarily an accountant or a bookkeeper to get around in, it's easier to go in and record transactions and record invoices and so on. Again, you want to have some background in accounting or bookkeeping when you're doing that, because like anything else, it's kind of a garbage in, garbage out. If you don't know exactly what you're doing and you're recording transactions into QBO, while it's easy to get in and start to kind of click around and add things, if you aren't familiar with the kind of fundamentals of accounting, it will be hard for you to end up with your activity in the correct place. Desktop, you really need to have more of a knowledge of accounting and bookkeeping before you use something like desktop. It just requires a more general knowledge of accounting in order to actually get in there and record the transactions that you want to record, and then have them actually record into the right places into your ledger. So QBO is much easier for the kind of the layman to come in and start clicking around and recording in than desktop is. But you really want to have some accounting knowledge in both, because even though QBO is easier to get into and start recording in, if you're not familiar with accounting, you're probably just recording things in the incorrect place. And then again, you take this information or you share it with your accountant at year end, say to do your taxes, and your accountant's going in kind of cleaning up. And what we do is cleaning up your QBO file in order for it to be good enough or accurate enough in order to drop into a tax return. So again, a little bit of a difference in ease of use. Again, we talked about backups. So there's an automatic backup on online. On desktop, you're going to have to manually back it up, save it, store it in a place that you can retrieve those backups from. Let's see, what else do we have here? All right, so one of the nice things, and we're going to talk a little bit about integrations here. I got my notes in front of me because there are a lot of different things. So we did talk a little bit about integration. So QBO has its API open, so that allows other products to sync with it. And so when we talk about other job costing products or CRMs with job costing, those would sync up with your QuickBooks file. So if you are in the construction space, there are job costing products that are out there. There are a laundry, there's more than I can even comment on right now. There'll be ones that some of you have probably heard of. There'll be things like Job Progress, Job Nimbus, Builder Trend, Co-Construct. I mean, there's a slew of different ones. What's nice about something like that is those products typically will allow you to maintain a CRM of some type. So basically a list of all your customers. Some of those products will allow you to have the ability to share the status of the project with your client. So it gives your client a portal to go to. So if you are a residential developer and you want your customer to see the status of their build, again, you can drop pictures into a lot of these products into this portal, and the client can go in and look at their pictures and comment and see their invoices and schedule time with you and so on. So there's a level of that flexibility that you have with online that you don't necessarily have with desktop. Some of the job costing CRM products out there do not sync with desktop. So, or if they do sync with desktop, there might be an investment or some sort of cost per month in order to sync it with that product. So it's something to think about. The online products, a lot of the ones that our clients are using, if you are, say, for instance, a plumbing company, and you have your team going out in the trucks on a daily basis, out to the jobs, you want them to have that flexibility of, say, using an iPad and seeing exactly which customer they're going to, what they, putting in what they needed to do at that customer. And then when they're done with that job, they're literally basically emailing an invoice to the customer as soon as they're done with whatever the project is. That's going to be cloud-based. That's going to typically work better with something like online. It may not work with desktop. So if you want that functionality of having that kind of real time with your team or your people out in the trucks and on the job sites, something like QuickBooks Online QBO would be a better option, because now you've got more integrations, more opportunities for software integrations. That's not to say that desktop doesn't. It just, the number available is not as significant. And so you may not have as many to choose from versus, versus with QBO. You can invoice out of both of them. So you have the ability to invoice your customers out of QBO as well as desktop. QBO has a little more sleek looking invoices. So again, you can different color schemes and putting your logo in it and the way that it's set up. So the way it visually looks, there's more options than in desktop. The invoice in desktop can tend to look pretty stark, pretty bland. Again, if you're just trying to get, invoice clients and get paid, doesn't necessarily have to be pretty. But if this is a truly, really kind of that customer facing, they may expect it to have a specific kind of visual. So it might be something that you think about when you are kind of picking a product to choose from. You can also send invoices out of desktop as well as QBO. So directly out of the product, and you email it off to the client. So those are options in both of them. It is something that I highly recommend that you have integrated in your business in some way. You should be sending, I apologize, my eye. You should be having some way to email the invoices to clients and then have the clients electronically pay you. Customers are expecting that now. It's also going to help you with your cash flow. So you'll be able to, if I have work done at my home today, if I have a plumber come in or an electrician come in today, and you want to be able to have your electrician give me a bill before he leaves my home so that I can, as quickly as possible, pay it, versus waiting for him to return to the shop, and maybe a week or two from now you send an invoice to, to me or to whoever your customer is, and then wait to get paid. So again, you want that flexibility, that ability to get customers. So that's what it's all about, cash flow, right? And we always talk about cash flow. Make it easier for customers to pay you. Don't make it hard. If they have to think about writing you a check, putting that check in an envelope, putting a stamp on that envelope, and then mailing it to you, it's going to take you much longer to get paid. So it's kind of something to think about. People are really truly expecting to be able to pay you electronically now, in this day and age, in some fashion. So you have to have the electronic payment in some way integrated into your business. One of the things that we use pretty significant, like with all clients, is the bank feeds in QBO. They're easy to set up. They can be, with like anything else with technology, sometimes the syncs break, sometimes you have to resync them. Understandable. You can sync in desktop. What we are finding is that many of the banks are charging for the sync in desktop. So it might be $5 or $8 or $10 a month for that sync. So something to think about. Again, could be another expense for you if you are paying on a monthly basis to the bank to kind of keep that bank feed sync with your desktop. One of the other things that both of the products offer is payroll. One of the challenges I have with QuickBooks payroll is that the way that they draft your funds. This is just a personal opinion. This is just something that I've seen, where you process payroll, it'll draft the net dollars that are going to your team members. And then when your tax deposits are due are when the rest of the dollars are drafted. That can be a challenge and something that I've seen clients get caught up in. So I don't love QuickBooks for payroll because of that reason. I prefer a service where the service drafts the entire cash requirement for the period, which would be the net dollars to the team members, the net taxes withheld from their payroll, as well as the taxes that you as the employer are due for that payroll. I prefer a service that drafts all of those all at once on the day before the payroll, so that it's just simply for cash flow. What I have seen is clients in the past get into trouble where it's only a portion of the payroll that processes. So it's just the net payroll that processes, yesterday, right? So today's Friday. If you're paying people today, it would have drafted yesterday, but the rest of the funds are going to draft when the deposits are due, which I have seen get clients into trouble because many times, the federal tax deposits, when they do become due, can be a significant dollar amount. So if you've not really thought about that, and that's unfortunately, it happens a lot with clients, they're looking at the dollar amount in their bank account today. So they look and say, oh, I have money in here today. I have money to do X, Y, and Z. When the reality is you probably have tax deposit dollars that are due in subsequent weeks. And that money really is already kind of encumbered and is spoken for already. So I personally prefer a service where they draft all of the payroll dollars all in one cash requirement. That being said, QBO does offer payroll, both the desktop and the online offer both. There are varying levels. They each change the levels of what they'll do, what QuickBooks does, what you'll do, so on and so forth. So something to think about. The reality is that you're going to want to choose the best product for your business. So if you want the functionality of having team members being able to access a cloud-based app to put in inventory that they're using out of their trucks, to record clients, to record the work that they've just done on a client and then invoice a client, you might want something like a QuickBooks Online that will give you that kind of cloud-based functionality, that real time. If you are doing things like, say, residential construction, where you're doing so many houses at a time and you want better reporting, maybe you want desktop. But if you're also doing kind of custom builds, maybe you want a product that you can have clients access in a portal. So maybe desktop might not be the right option. So there's no right product or wrong product, and each has functionality that is better for one things than others. So you really need to look at it and look at what your needs are and determine truly which one makes sense for you, not just from a functionality, dollars, use, all of that, and then adoption across your business if you are in fact having other people help you in your accounting and so on and so forth. It's not just you doing it. You have a team, how easy is it to train up your team to use, say, online or QuickBooks desktop, or vice versa. So it's kind of QBO and QB, or QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop, kind of side by side, and making the choice that is best for your business. There is no kind of right option for everyone. There's not one size fits all. You really need to kind of look at the benefits, kind of the pros and the cons of both of them, and then determining which one is the best for you. So if you love today's cafe, remember, comment below. Comment either #cashflow or #coffeebreak. And remember, we're dropping the hammer on cash flow problems so you can build things that matter. I will see you next week. Have a fantastic weekend.